Alrighty. Hello there. I am Chris from Airwindows. I am doing another live stream and we're still struggling with all the crazy new technology. But there are high points. It's just that some of the high points I can't patch through because my system is misbehaving a little bit. Although I suppose I could get experimental. Hey Ahmed, hey Samantha. See, what I've been doing is I'm doing an experiment on MIDI verbs. I'm doing okay. I'm only going to be able to do about 75 minutes or so today for the very simple reason that, like on last week, I go longer and my camera will die. The battery will run out. So I literally can't go any longer. So it's like, I'll get to lunch earlier than usual. That said, I have a bit of show and tell. Unfortunately, it's in a kind of weird way that I don't actually get to show you properly, because I'm going to need to do some problem solving before the Tuesday music thingy, because my line is not working. And of course, the way things are set up, I can't tell whether my audio has gone wrong or whether my video has gone wrong or anything. I've done a number of changes, like the camera is not trying to do its own size conversion down to the streaming size to send to the Blackmagic device. It's a thing is called a Blackmagic Intensity Thunderbolt or something like that. And it's capable of doing its own downscaling, so I'm making it do that. And secondly, what is secondly? There's so much to keep track of. I've got so much going on with all this. Secondly, I told Stoners, I don't remember what it was that was secondly. Oh, and secondly is the following. Check this out. If you look under your window, you can see, somebody spotted that in the previous video. Yeah, that's an MCM. That is a MCM 20.4 mixer. This is the same kind of mixing board that got in terrible trouble when it launched because it shipped with bad switches. The switches were all scratchy and stuff. And within a month or so, all the switches which for a mixer of that kind is not acceptable, so people got real upset with them over that. However, I got this one through Sweetwater, which do not endorse or support me in any way, but they cut me a deal if I get big enough piles of stuff at one time. And they have like a 2-year warranty, so they were like, oh yes, 2-year warranty. If it goes wrong, then send it back. And I'm like, okay. So what that means is I can put, as you might be able to see, like colored stickers on there. Those are actually the resistor color codes, so that I can label stuff. And I am using Chrome today as the suggestion from last week as far as trying to get the video working versus not properly working. So the idea is maybe with the combination of all these things, it will end up able to stream properly. I got a bunch of different little changes all over the place, and we'll just see how that goes, I guess. Definitely shout out if it's going terribly wrong. I'll try to fix it, whatever it is. Let me see whether I can't get that nicely situated. And bada boom. So focal music and soundscapes. Okay, here's my show and tell. And when I'm done with this, I might shut it down. Actually, I got a couple of different show and tells today, but here is one of them. And I can't patch the audio through, but I can stick this up in against a speaker. here is my rose. I have run two MIDI verbs into each other. What that is, and I think maybe I'll get even more show and telly to the extent that I can, I might end up wanting to lose this lighty thing. We could fool with that, I suppose. Tell you what, I'll go off mic just a little bit and show you a variety of other show and tell garbage, and we'll just see how well all of this holds together. I'm seeing questions. I'll answer questions. Permit me to flail around a little bit showing stuff off, because I have been spending days and days and days just doing the problem solving work of getting all of this mess together. And there are some interesting answers and interesting solutions. So here's one. Let me take this off. I'll be derping around with the camera a little bit, hopefully not jostling the HDMI. And that is the light circle thing, but I'm not going to be needing that, I don't think, because the windows are pretty bright as they are. Oh shit, what fell? What fell and died? Let me see, something's rolling around. Oh, it's nothing too harmful. Before I deal with that, I'm going to take this. Shit's falling all over the place. Goodbye, YouTube content advisory. This is a cheap little tripod thingy. You can push this button and move it around. A vlogger was recommending it, and this is actually a pretty good company, and they have made a very good little tripod thingy. It's not heavy, but it's real solid and durable, much better than the light circle thing. And if I attach it like this, I can sit it down. And I've also got a mic stand. You can see there's a special screw on there. I can focus that to get it in focus even. So there's a special screw on there. And I've actually super glued it in place, because what that does, this is our show and tell section, is this is the vlogger thing where you screw it into the bottom of the camera, set it to sort of point back like this, and then you hold it like that, and that's how you do a vlogging style thing, which I have yet to do because I'm still struggling with all of this technological stuff. But I can also park it in a simple mic stand. It's a sort of larger size mic stand, not a SM58 mic stand, but as it happens, you can go kerp, and that holds it super well. So that gives me a thing the camera can sit on. That parks. On this. And as long as I don't unplug myself or something like that, I can sit that anywhere I want. and as long as I'm not unplugging the HDMI cable. I got a huge HDMI cable, but I'm not sure if it works with this scenario. I remember I had problems setting it up initially, and that may be because this camera is just not able to drive a giant HDMI cable. It's not really meant to. It's not advertised to. You're supposed to stick to a short one. And so, like I was telling you, I've got some show and tells. I'm going to park this here for the moment. Lean too far into that thingy. Since this is not an autofocus lens, I have to keep reconfiguring it. Dual wielding MIDI verbs. That is probably not going to be an everyday thing, but that's what I was doing in order to show off the roads and stuff. And indeed, I can do that again. Might want to take this mic clip off. I wish I had the direct input, but this ought to at least make a sound you can hear. So there you are, that's what you get. Dual wielding MIDI verbs. They are set on setting 50. And if we look over here, we can see, and if anybody has comments, please post them. I can't tell whether you're even still there or not, or whether everything dropped and died. It says I don't have any dropped frames, so that's nice. And I've done an experiment that just got posted to my Instagram. There are holes in my desk since this is an Argosy, and there's one of the holes right under there. What that means is I can take the bottom of the little 2018 Mac Mini, and that is vinyl sealing stuff, like sealing up tape. And that's I probably can't pick. I don't want to pick it up, seeing as it's working so hard. When I stream like this, it is blasting the heck out of the poor little Mac Mini, which is a fast computer for as these go. Oh no, robot. Let's bounce the video appearance. Or wait. Better idea. Okay, so power down. Power back on. If we're lucky, that isn't going to robot. I haven't solved that one yet. Again, this is I've been at this for weeks, and it's continuing to give me problems, and I have no way of monitoring what I'm doing the way this is going. So I'll answer questions even if they're in robot voice, and we're just trying to hold things together at this stage. We're just trying to make it work somehow. That is such a normal problem to be having. It's like, okay, let's just try to make anything work ever. And we'll do a little studio shuffling. You see, there are other things I can do in future that I'm kind of working on. I'm trying to get a thing where I can not plug this into the camera. If I can plug this into the mixing board rig and this kind of stuff, I can not only like talk or sing or do instruments over the Tuesday Music Jam, but I can also guarantee that the it won't start roboting, because that is strictly about the camera going through the HDMI, and it's pushing a lot of data. And you see, maybe I can actually get a sense of this. So if I shut that off, don't mind me. We're just rolling with this kind of thing as we go. So I think I know where I can find headphones I may or may not be able to use to test how this is working. So that way I can at least check it out while I'm underway. Oh, I think this was made to be tried to attach into this. It doesn't work. It's clearly carved, but it's not carved enough to fit into this extender, so I need to go and find a different one. Yeah, old system being low but better is a harsh criticism. That makes me tragically sad. And yet at the same time I see the legitimacy of it. It's the kind of thing that tells you, what were you even doing trying to do anything or make anything better? Should just have stayed at potato quality. Where is the freaking... I know there's a connector around here somewhere. I'm having a really hard time finding it. It was on something. I know it was on something. Oh, God. All I want to do is plug this into a thing. All I want to do is plug this into a thing. Oh, my God. Losing my damn mind. Could it be over here? I've been making... these. I just lost one. I dropped it. It went away. I may never have it again. Let me drop this and go in search of the other thing that dropped and fell. And it went under here. I made several of these. You know what? I'm going to give up for the moment. Guys, if it's roboting, I can't help you today. Or at least I can't help you right now, because I need to be able to patch that into that, and I don't have the adapter ready, and I don't know where it went. And it was right here, and the other adapter won't work. But I can still answer questions if I can read the thingy. Yeah, it's like all new Utility Muffin Research Kitchen. You know, one consoling thought is I absolutely know that like folks like Zappa and whoever have been putting up with this kind of nonsense since forever. This is not a new thing. me struggling with the new tech, trying to make it better and then having it be worse. Although it makes me incredibly sad and every time that it's worse or fails, because it's supposed to be like, oh, so wonderfully, spectacularly better. And then when it's not better at all, that is just extremely dismaying. Let me see, can I turn this off? Yes, I can. We're going all natural light today. If you haven't noticed, I'm still looking all over the place for this frigging adapter that I need. It's the one adapter that I need, and I cannot lay my hands on. And if all was going well, I wouldn't need it at all because, well, I'll tell you what. I can get into the madness of going back to full crank, and then if I patch this to the output, now if this goes wrong, I apologize in advance. Monitor and output. So there we go. So we can get a nice little echo going on. And then I can kill the volume. So I did not need this. I think the YouTube-y thing to do would be to throw this away and have a sound effect going crash. However, there is actually no reason for me to throw this and have a sound effect going crash, and I don't have a person on a soundboard ready to go crash for it, so sadly that's not going to be a thing. And my lighting definitely looks, some of this stuff just becomes hilarious eventually. You wind up struggling with all these things and then going like, oh hi, I'm blown out because I'm being lit by daylight through some windows. And there ain't nothing I can do about that. When I'm doing the plugin streams or whatever, that's typically at night, or I can close windows. The thing is, if I close windows and start cutting down the light to this camera, it starts getting low frame rates and looking like ass, so we don't want to go there. Hi, Bo. Still struggling with all of the technologies. It is a positive thing that I'm able to get going with this stuff and pick up the camera off of its stand and point it at things. I feel like that's going to become useful in future. I feel like, and if I don't sit way back, I don't get blown out, so that's cool. You know, this is an all manual camera, but I still have lighting is very much being automatic, so it wants me to be sitting close to the camera. Like the fellow was complaining about a while back, I had to adjust my video making style because he was like, you're being too glamorous. And I'm like, me, glamorous? Seriously? But part of the idea is to get it into a zone where it's like, oh, hey, you're viewable. Anyways, let me show you this thing that was falling on the ground. Check this out. I am making these little devices out of a couple of little things, and you can make them too if you want. I'll tell you how. This is a 1/4-inch plug from somewhere in Mouser, and it's the kind of plug that you're supposed to injection mold into stuff. So it's just the plug, and there are no screws or anything, and it's just like some clips coming off that you can solder. And this is a little amphenol jack, which is this funny little square looking jack that, let's see, where's its blur settings? I can do a blur if I zoom in close enough. So what I've done is I've simply soldered the things together so that I can plug this into a synthesizer and then plug Eurorack cables into it. And that is very handy because it means I can do like the Lyra or the Moog, and I've had bad Moog luck recently. That device is still fine, but one of my modular Moogs died on me because I was being really dumb, and I tried to attach it into the modular system while it was powered up, and it grazed some of its internal bits against metal and shorted itself out and went foop, and the magic smoke went away. So the Mother 32 is no more unless it is fixable. I'll have to find out about that, but it may not be. It might be just done. But this device is the thing that I can use without having to buy anything fancy, and also knowing that it's good quality, to plug into anything and then plug a modular cable in, which is real useful because, as you can see from these dangling white cables. Yeah. Oh yeah, well, I did that before. I actually have pretty good voice projection when I need it, so I can demonstrate this from where I stand. It's just like doing a live performance or something like that. What you do is you just raise your voice, and actually you can't, we need to focus. Hey. And so here I have my distance focus, and I have taken some cables that plug into the back of the MCM and soldered on plugs and painted them in colors that go along with the colors on the knobs. So this is now ready to just plug into a place. Whatever I want. And it comes up in the board. And that's some of also the stuff that I've been doing as far as getting this together. The color coding is kind of handy because it lets me look up where it went into on the board, but it also lets me color code. This is not just for looks or being like an ally. This is functional. And I've even got some, this looks like electrical tape, but it's actually Scotch tape with acrylic paint under it. And that's the resistor color codes right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is brown, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, which is very dark, and gray. And I organize the cables that way too, so I can just park these here. And then I know where to grab anything. Oh, and well, this is worth refocusing. And I have also been doing much smaller cables. Namely, all the way in. Tiny jumper cable. That is just two little cables that are also from, these are also from Mouser Electronics. Unlike most jacks and plugs and things, you can buy these for like 10 cents each in large quantity, because they are made to just be injection molded into stuff, and they're quite serviceable. So what you do is you wire up patches on your synthesizers, the modular stuff, to go from whatever to whatever, and just do a single little solid core wire here to make the connection. Works really well. I can pretend to plug it in here. And hey, it's a tiny, very unconventional patch cord, because it's the two little Euro jacks connecting these two things together. So this is what I do all day, right? This is wiring together a little junk like that. But this stuff is working wonderfully, which is more than I can say for some of the fancy technology. And let me glance over at the chat and stuff while I'm at it, and also take a little listen, just to make sure I'm not roboting. Hey, we got the echo technology. I suppose I could put it on very faintly, as long as that's not too distracting. Yeah. Okay, so now we have a rockabilly slapback. Hey. Anyways, have a little bit of a look at this chat. Yes, we're the new utility muffin research kitchen, or something very much like it. That is the heart of this sort of thing. Actually, it's a little bit more like deadmau5's rig, because Zappa was using a lot of like real musicians. And I think one of the things that deadmau5 got into fairly early on is doing a bunch of synthesizer work, but he got into a decent analog mixing board fairly early on, and some of his stuff used that, and still does to, at times. Hard to say how much or how often he's doing that, but that is certainly my goal, is to have a functioning analog board, and that's the model for all of the stuff that I do, like console and so on, is it's based off of reality as a model. I'm not just conceptualizing, I'm trying to match stuff that I'm hopefully used to working with. And that's the whole idea right there. Hence all that work. So let me see. Questions and things. Live sports stream. I'm not sure what I was doing as far as sports. Maybe jumping around, plugging things into each other counts as sports. Ahmed wonders if overexposure to music takes away the exclusivity of music. And I'm thinking, yeah, but this is not the first time this has ever happened. Like, there have always been situations where people were trying to do their thing, and like, for instance, we're dealing now with technology harming the workforce in various ways, but back in the day there was Luddites. And what people don't always understand is that Luddites were not like dim-witted peasantry going like, oh, it's witchcraft, but understood very well, like, this crap is going to take away our jobs. We are going to suffer as a result of these machines and things. And there's two perspectives on that. I listened a lot to a fellow named Mark Blythe, who is a professor of economics at Brown University. And he has an interesting take on some of that stuff, which makes a lot of sense. He is a real left-winger, but is not at all persuaded by Luddite-style arguments that we should be cutting back the access to stuff like that. Because his take on it is, you hire a machine to replace 10 guys to do a thing, and you're doing the thing, you do it so effectively that you increase your business, and then you end up having to hire 11 or 12 guys just in other areas to handle what it is that you did. Of course, this doesn't necessarily take into account things like Google, where they first and foremost are trying to replace absolutely everything. And Mark Blythe's second thing is the idea of being like the end of work, with automation and stuff, or universal basic income, is essentially madness because climate change. It is going to be all hands on deck. there is going to be work for all, because there is going to be that much for us to do, whether it is doing productive, constructive things, or whether it is simply repairing and picking up after disasters. It's going to require everybody. So there will be work for people. It's not like we're going to run out of stuff that people can do for like gainful employment. Let me see. I think I just tangented on that a little bit. As far as overexposure to music, taking away the exclusivity of music, the reason I started talking about things like Luddites is because we've got a situation where anybody can pick up instruments and download sample packs and things like that, and then start doing that stuff. And this is not entirely new either. One of the things that's always happened is it's never been about like what you know or what you can do so much as who you know and whether you were able to connect yourself with the relevant people to become popular and a celebrity doing the thing that you claim to be special at doing. There's always going to be people who can do that kind of stuff amazingly in any different ways. And I'm talking, you can have amazingly as far as people who are instrumentalists that can perform like, maniacs. Or you can have people who don't necessarily perform, but they emote. They have something to say with their music, rather than just being able to guarantee that they can play more notes than the next guy. Anybody exceptional in that way might be popular and might not, because it's like popularity is kind of orthogonal to any of that. It's about how you can exploit the systems, and the systems are still primary to all of that. Like these days, the systems don't pay you. You got like Spotify or something like that, and that's never going to pay you any money. So it's very much a glamour kind of thing. But in the basic income future, you don't need to get paid. So people will stop caring about that to the extent that that becomes a thing. And then they'll start caring about, are you paying attention to me? So it goes from getting paid in money to getting paid in exposure directly, and that's all anybody cares about. That's the direction that'll go. So overexposure to music, taking away the exclusivity of music, is very much a thing. But essentially what you do is you decide what kind of thing it is you want to be doing and then do that, rather than doing it because you think that's the thing that's going to get you into the exclusive club of being the popular musician. If that can never happen, what would you do? Is a very relevant question. And music used to be a special occasion. Buying a CD, vinyl, cassette was a special thing, but now since we can stream, we don't find it that exclusive. That's a fair point. On the other hand, I still buy CDs and things. I bought records. There's a number of records I'm adding to the Evergreens collection. I picked up a copy of Phil Collins's Face Value, that famous first solo album that he did. I've learned about that a lot, so that's a really good choice, in that there's a classic albums documentary on it that I watched, so I know some of the stuff around it. But I also listened to it and I was like, man, this thing sounds really good. I had forgotten how good that sounded, and I don't think I'd ever had it off of original vinyl before. And some of those sort of funky tracks in the middle there were really worth hearing. I also buy CDs from various people. For instance, I have been on a King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard kick, so I bought a bunch of their CDs just because I could, and they're currently being made and sold and stuff. And I've gotten a couple of I've gotten one, and I'm probably going to get another CD from some Sybient musicians named Carbon-Based Lifeforms. And they work on Bandcamp, and they sell a lot of downloads and things. If you buy their CD, you can also download 24-bit of their stuff. Not all of their stuff really deserves 24-bit because they have a nasty tendency of compressing and limiting it so hard that it winds up clipping, even though it's not the style of music that should be clipping. Like, they push the loudness fairly hard on that, which is not great. But there's a variety of albums that they did that I'm very happy with, and there's another one that I may very well be picking up because I ran across it. I was like, oh hey, they did 2,000 of this CD and they have 35 left. So I'm like, okay, maybe if I want to get this, I'd better get it. And it becomes the special thing. It becomes the collectible thing, but it's all because I liked their music in the first place, rather than they decided they were going to make a special limited edition CD kind of thingy. And the King Gizzard stuff is not limited edition at all. I just wanted to make flax of this stuff off of CDs that I had bought because I was supporting them. And their stuff generally costs about $11, new. So it's not like it was that burdensome to get. And it's still possible to do these things. You just decide, like, okay, this one guy, I'm going to buy their CDs and things. And you do that. Like, I don't believe I am in that place as far as a musician. Although it would be nice if I can grow and learn and get better, or find better genres to work in. As the stuff I was demonstrating with the MIDI verbs, I'm definitely thinking in terms of ambient. And it just, and the solo that I did with the Lyra 8 is also on in the lines of sort of ambient. And I've always liked that. Maybe that's what I need to be devoting my attention to. But as far as my plugin stuff is concerned, that does meet with people's approval. And I have enough attention to that to go forwards and keep doing it. So it's a matter of what you're doing and how far you've taken it. Have you taken it to the point where it is a self-sustaining thing that people are after you to do more? And if so, can you do that thing, like get together enough money, because you always kind of have to start with enough money to make the thing happen. Make your 2,000 CD run. For me, I did a CD run for an album called Dragons a bunch of years ago. I sold enough to pay for it. I sold like 200 over the years, and that paid for the run. But, you do however much of that, and you manage the sort of small business type aspects of keeping inventory and managing that kind of stuff. And just sort of go from there. But you don't do that first and then expect the attention to come. Instead, you only can do it when there's a context where people are wanting that from you. So let me keep scrolling because I'm getting bogged down. And we've only got about 20 minutes or so left because the camera is going to run out of batteries. And that cuts me short this time. Until I pay even more money to get like power for all this stuff. Like if this was plugged into the mixing board so that it didn't robot on me, and the camera had DC power from adapters and stuff, which would involve more buying of things, then I'd be able to go for longer, but for the time being, I'm going to have to cut it short. So yeah, daylight savings scam. I don't think that's quite happened at the moment. Buying CDs because streaming is frustrating. The thing that I find frustrating about streaming is that something like YouTube, I can find a lot of different things on YouTube, but they're constantly turning on that autoplay stuff again. They want to be a radio station. They want to tell you what to do because they can get paid by people who would like to influence your beliefs and stuff. And they'll take money from people who are like, play my thing to everybody stuff. It's as good as advertising, essentially. It's, you do your autoplay and you're getting fed what YouTube is paid to feed you. And that essentially is nothing but advertising. Hey, realhomerecording.com says, Chris J, that's me. Yep. Glam Rock, we haven't talked about the next Evergreens podcast. Probably there are going to be times that I just pick one, but I'm open for suggestions today. We'll see. PDF doc file that explains the basic functions of each Airwindows plug. I'm going to need to go into a zone of making a limited selection and then doing videos and stuff, or indeed the PDF doc file thing that runs you through this limited subset. Because you understand when you talk about each Airwindows plug, we're still talking about 170 different things. Many of them are related, but that is a huge monster task. And I have, huge monster tasks still to do for all of them. So the making documentation for all of them is a big ask. At some point, maybe I'll get a autofocus lens. I like the fact that it doesn't hunt. I don't like the fact that I have to keep fiddling with it. And yep, the WikiHow, that actually exists. Let me scroll to find how far forward we got. The wiki, there is a beatdruid.com is a wiki. And the thing about that is, no, I have to do it. Nobody is going to do this for me. Anything having to do with this kind of stuff, I will have to do it. So that exists, but it was kind of like, let's let the community have a place to do its stuff. Beatdruid.com, again. I think it's even linked at Airwindows. And it is not well organized. It's not a very effective thing. Delta plug, meaning presumably dbass. I think that's worked out pretty good. I don't think we've had daylight savings time here, but I guess we'll find out, won't I? It's going to be coming up, I guess. Supposed to talk cabinets this week. There is an Airwindows Wikia, that is beatdruid.com. I wish I was Dead Mouse and Zappa in one man. Although I did something that I'm rather pleased with. I changed strings on the guitar that I got. I should show you that. That's fun. So I did a couple of guitar things, and this is one. I have a Dean Boca over there. It's a 12-string, and that was essentially garbage stock because the pickups are super high impedance. They're like metal pickups, which is the worst thing you could have for a 12-string. So what I did was I changed them and I made them be parallel wired rather than series wired, and that seems to have done useful things. I haven't had time to check it out very much, but I was doing that this morning before dawn. But this is something that is quite gratifying to me. It is a real live $350 Les Paul. And the reason it's $350 Les Paul is that some madman made it skinny and thin. I guess they decided that it was too heavy. So somebody just carved it up. Like it's real and stuff. Although they got a replacement sticker, some kind of thing for the cover, and then put it on crooked. And you can see the tail piece. It's been thinned out here. And you can see where the original location of that screw hole was and where the current location is. And I got a new set of strings on it because I play light gauge strings. So this is a relatively new it's a Spinal Tap sustain, like so I'm going to be careful with that. I'm going to put it back. Give me a moment and I'll put it back. But I was doing that and I'm going to put that back like right now. That's just what I need today, is to drop it, right? So if I am going to be a Zappa, it's going to be on the back of stuff like that, of being able to play guitar and choosing to play extremely wrong notes, which is something that I will always delight in doing. That is just made of awesome. Always into the dissonant notes. Maybe also in the way of like defining new harmonies and things, because I have a plan for the Music Thing modular chord organ, which is to adapt this chart to it. This chart is something that I invented. And as you can see, it is at heart circle of fifths. As you keep going around, you got the 12 notes, and you get a circle of fifths by following this all the way around. But, let me see what's in focus and what is not. Around here is in focus. But I also aligned it according to, if you have this as a root chord, then what key would you be playing in, with these other things being relevant? And you can switch to different chords along the circle of fifths, but you can also switch to different places on the scale by making this be root notes. Like if you were playing in, this is the white keys line, I think, unless this is. No, this is, because the red circles have to do with what's easy to play on a guitar chord. So this is the white keys line. And if you are playing white keys starting from C, you're in major. If you are playing white keys starting from A, you're in minor, and so it says A minor as a chord. And if you switch among a little diamond of chords like this, that's 4-chord song. There are correlations to chords being in a little cluster that are close to each other and popular successful chord progressions. This is something I think I figured out, and so the next thing I need to do is take the chord organs, which is the music thing modular thing based on the radio music module, and set it up so that when you change the chord voicing, rather than changing from D major to D minor to D7 to whatever, which is what it normally does, you have the chord setting, which is just chromatic, although it's not really 1 volt per octave. And then you have the different voicings. But there's nothing saying that you can't go from D minor to F to C7th as the chord voicings. It can just spell that stuff out, because all you're doing is distinguishing it by, like, okay, this note is +1, this note is +7, this note is +13, and so on and so forth. So you could have all the root notes be starting at, like, okay, this is 0, 3, 5, whatever, and then this is 1, 4, etc. So you can make this kind of scale as a chord organ patch where you can put voltages in and have it switch between these ranks. Then, rather than have it go up in a note, if each step goes up a fifth, we've replicated the circle of fifths again. And a small increase in voltage would go up a fifth, and then up another fifth, and then up another fifth. And by the time you've finished, you get back around to the first one again. That would be a modular synthesizer, and you could probably program it as well, like when I start working with VCV Rack, which becomes more plausible as I get the technology together. Here's the thing. That old technology that I was using, although it was like fairly well behaved and stuff, it could not support some of these things. Like, I couldn't do anything useful with VCV Rack because it would just choke and die. And I had to start throwing some more of this tech at it in order to be able to work in those lines, because I come from a place where it's kind of poverty-stricken, that's why I do the free open source plugins, so that people can have tools. And I didn't have tools that could play things like VCV Rack in non-trivial patches. And the stuff that I'm talking about with that, or this little slide rule, which is a slide rule for chords and pitches and things, and modes, that could probably be applied to VCV as well, and that could be applied to things that people can download. But what I want to do is patch it into the modular stuff, and then have chords and things coming out of those. That's the kind of stuff I'm working on as far as moving this whole technology forwards. Okay, two boogie cabs, cabinets are indeed a big contributor to the sound. Ahmed is teasing somebody. Be careful about teasing somebody. Absolutely. Yeah. I like John Bertucci. I've listened to a fair bit of Dream Theater. In fact, I have one of their CDs. We were talking about supporting bands by buying their CDs and things. I've got one of their CDs. I think it was the last one with, yeah. You can't use Perlin noise in dithering. It's not useful. It is a rosewood fretboard on that guitar. I'm going to have to scroll so that I catch up with people. Led Zeppelin albums. We'll be getting to those. Those are super important. Dubstep is neat in its own way. Dubstep is the Led Zeppelin of today. It's what people do when you want to be doing like electronic stuff and running off of a laptop, but you still want to be like the Marshall Stack. And it kind of turned into bro step, and that's just human nature, I guess. But you can still do stuff like that. I've been spending recent days going through this thing called the Electronic Music Genre Guide thing. What the heck even was it called? Psytrance English PDF. Psytrance PDF. And it has all these links to different clip bands and things, and some of them are all music links, and some of them are Bandcamp. And Bandcamp turns out to be really useful for that kind of stuff. In fact, I found a genre called Xenon-esque, which is sort of like vaguely progressive psytrance, only not. Or it's a little darker, it's a little iller, a little bit more minimal. And I was like, hey, I think I like all of these. And so I bookmarked it. Since it's a record label, Xenon-esque is based off of what a particular record label was able to do with a stable of artists. And so being that it's a record label, they'll do things like go, oh, hey, electronic downloads, you can download everything Xenon has produced for like $400. Because they've been going for a number of years and they put out a bunch of stuff. So there's lots of all this stuff that has this very consistent sound. It's very characteristic. And I thought I liked it a lot. So you can find that kind of stuff and you can fixate on things and go, hey, I want all of this, or I want to support this, and start buying people CDs and things. And make it special for yourself, even if you can't necessarily make the outside world go, oh, hey, this is great, I should support it. But let's see. And that has caught me up. Cool. So yeah, it is now noon. And the camera hasn't died yet. And the technology has behaved itself a little bit, although I still was not able to patch the rig through into OBS. I have the patch for it, but it didn't work. It didn't connect. For like 5 minutes before starting this stream, I had OBS and the camera and the HDMI and all of that kind of stuff, and that simply refused to wake up. It was a black screen in OBS like 5 minutes before airtime, and it's just like, nope, that's all you get. Nothing's happening. And I couldn't figure out what was happening, and then it just randomly started working at some point. Selecting things like, here is 2 copies of Blackmagic Intensity Thunderbolt in the listings, and neither of them work. And then I'm changing the settings and fiddling with this, and everything seems to be basically right. And I'm like, this worked yesterday when I did the plugin posting. And I'm relaunching the program, and then all of a sudden there's only one setting for the Blackmagic Intensity Thunderbolt, and it suddenly works. And it's like, okay, thank you. I'd better stream before this stops working again. And that's kind of what happened with the direct input of the mixing board. That was, well, maybe it wasn't functioning quite this way. but it was functioning before. Maybe the reason it's not functioning is I've got it set on 96K. That might be it. Is that I'm looking to get stuff out of the Motu, and the audio that OBS, well, but that can't be true. Maybe I just need to, maybe you can only do one or the other. Like you can't do the 16A and the Intensity Shuttle, and all of my audio is coming over the Intensity Shuttle now. So, technology, yay. At least it will end up being a thing, in the long run. It's a lot of work going through all of this, but I have hopes that it'll be a nice upgrade in the long run once everything gets sorted out. Because, seriously, it's been weeks and the bugs still aren't worked out, but I think that's probably kind of normal. I think I mentioned when somebody invoked Utility Muffin Research Kitchen, I was like, there is somebody else who understands what this is like. He was working with early synclaviers and computer music and stuff. That is somebody who, and I've read Bill Bruford's autobiography. And Bruford also knows what that's like, because he wrote about how he went on stage actually with Yes in the Union Tour, which was a terrible idea. But he went on stage with Yes in the Union Tour, and Alan White had this gleaming, extremely large drum kit with a million different things on it. And Bruford had modern digital drums. They were Simmons-based, and they fired samples, and they ran on old Macintoshes. And 2 seconds before he went on stage, Rhodey's like, Bill's drums ain't working. The power went down. The power came back up. The Macintoshes ain't booting. And he's like, duh. And that is somebody who in a very, very big, a very big gig, I think it was the first gig for that, he was just boned by the technology. So that happens. That sometimes happens. You kind of got to keep a sense of humor about it and sort of roll with it. And hopefully seeing people flailing with that kind of stuff has its own kind of entertainment value. Although it's much more soothing for the person doing the producing when everything finally starts to work properly, and then you can focus on the actual content and the things that you're doing. I'll be doing some of that soon enough, because I have had all this rig fired up just the other day, and I may or may not be doing the fancy flashy lights thing, but I was running the modular stuff through the new mixing board, and I gotta tell you, it was sounding pretty nice. I was doing some fun things with, if anybody would like this, I can make that available, although it may or may not count as a new product thing. Maybe it should. Maybe this should count as a new product thing. You know how I do these live streams? A while back, I had the little sort of headphones with the little thing with the fluff in front of my mouth and stuff on the old machine. The reason you can see the old iMac there is because I'm going to see whether maybe I can start doing a Minecraft stream in the most simple way that I can, which is getting a cable and running an HDMI mirror of that display over to the thing that's taking the camera in now, and using that so that the new computer doesn't have to try to run a game at the same time and can just do the encoding like it's doing now. And that might give me like a tolerable quality on things. And I'd be running the sound through HDMI and just, yep, all of the above, doing all of the things. And that wouldn't be taking over any stream that I do. I've just been wanting to do that. Even if it's not like, White Sea was invited at one point to be part of that. I don't think that's going to happen. Although he could surprise me, come back and be like, hey, that thing, I want to do it now. But even without White Sea, I'm thinking that firing up the Minecraft thing or indeed letting people, letting my patrons, letting you folks, if you like playing that game, to come and join me. Or indeed come and join me and also join me on the Discord and etc. and have your voices on the stream, because that might be fun too. But yeah, I've done a little bit of experimenting with getting my sounds into this thing, and the new product would be a collection of my voice from live streams chopped up into little pieces so that it can be loaded into a bank on the radio music. Because then you have like 16 different extended clips that have been delivered to work with the radio music's inbuilt DAC, which is about 13 bits or so. And I set it up so that there is the not just another dither to make to make stuff work appropriately. And then it's 16 roughly 40-minute or so clips. And what the radio music module does is it runs all of these clips sort of in parallel, in that it is seeking from a particular point in the file. But you can change channels, and it'll change to where that point is in an adjacent file, which has nothing to do with the original file. So it does sound like changing stations rather than relaunching new things. And what you get when you do that is, and then there's you can change the channels, you can have a different start point and set it according to another knob. And then you have a reset button, which is also a trigger that you can send a Eurorack voltage into. So what you do is you do that, and this is what I was doing for hours. It was great fun, and I might do it tomorrow. Do your techno music beat or something like that, but you want to bring in a voice, huh? So you set up this scenario with 16 40-minute tracks of me doing live streams and just talking like I have been all this time. And switch randomly among them using the station selection. Maybe also use the start point selection. You can't actually dial into anything specific, but if you have a regular trigger coming in that is every 4 bars or every 1 bar or every 2 beats, restarting it at that start point, you wind up getting little repeating audio clips from a really large, 6 hours worth of potential audio. And you can just fool it around until it's sophisticated. You are in danger of, you are in danger of, you are in danger. And, I don't think this plugin is, I don't think this plugin is, I don't think plugin is. It's a lot of fun. And I am using these sound banks, but they have been live streams all this time. So if people would like, I could make this available as downloadable files for other radio music users in case they wanted a little or a lot of Talking Chris candid doing the live stream, because that stuff was being done in such a way where I had headphones on, but I was focusing in on the chat and I had so little else that I was able to do that I would just be doing this monologue, and I'd really forget that I was even recording. I would really forget any of that stuff and just be talking to people as they'd be typing back. So there is a kind of authenticity to it in that it does sound pretty candid. And the little excerpts can cover a really wide range of voice expressions and words and things. It's mostly talking about audio, but I'm telling stories about my life and stuff. And you never can tell what might pop up there. I was finding lots of neat little things, just scanning around and having a repeating thing setting. And it worked real good. So that could be a product. I could put out the Airwindows Q&A radio music banks. I've got them available. That could be one of my Sunday updates, put something like that out. I'm also thinking in terms of doing the Baxendall style filter, which digitally is going to be more along the lines of biquads, but interleaved biquads and fixed filter frequencies. I think that might be useful because it'd be like having a simple set of tone controls, but nobody else is doing interleaved biquads. That's just me. And if I do that and select the bands properly, I think it would be darn usable. And when you're doing interleaved filters, one of the things that means is that the slope is going to be slower. Although with biquads, you can set it to be like, so it would be basically half Butterworth slope. Because Butterworth is the one that doesn't have a bump on it. And that makes sense to do with biquads, because that is like specifically the point where you can do that. And if I break stuff up using biquads, but then they're interleaved, I would have, much like the Baxendale filter, a fixed frequency filter set, except for that it would be slower transition bands. So they'd be kind of gentle, much like a Baxendale filter is. And then it would also have the qualities of that interleaved biquad filter, which does exist because that the plugin that I put out, which is like restricted only to 44.1K, the bass drive plugin uses interleaved biquads from back in the day. It's just that they're hard-coded. So doing one where it adapts to sample rates and is flexible in modern situations, and I can pick the frequencies better and have them sum to like bit perfect, no change being made, that would be probably good, I think. So that'd be a nice thing. Anywho, I think that we are done with the questions for the moment. I got a request for Led Zeppelin. I'm feeling kind of tired of doing all of the best and greatest albums, so maybe I think maybe I'm just gonna pick one, because I've been too distracted by all this tech and by the show and tell factor of all this, which I think has gone fairly well. I haven't often had the opportunity to like put on the dual wielding MIDI verbs, the one going into the other, and then demonstrate that. Even if I wasn't able to do the direct input on that one, I held the microphone up to the speaker and you kind of heard it. So that was kind of cool. And yeah, I'll pick something fun for Wednesday, and I'll pick something that I enjoy so that I can bear up with all of this heavy like tech grinding that I'm doing in good spirits. I'll pick something I like and that's fun to talk about. And with that said, we'll see you later. No, I don't use multiband compressors. It's a thing that could be coded, but I'm not very likely to code it. With that said, I am going to say goodbye, because if I don't, the camera is going to die and it'll just go black without me even being able to control it or say goodbye or anything like that. So on that note, see you guys later. See you next week. And I'll see if I can't keep like fun plugins and things happening, and see whether you like DBS, the de-esser that has followed up DS. I think it's actually being a big improvement, and it's hopefully this is going to make an impression upon people. It's only been out for like 12 hours or so, so it's understandable if it hasn't gotten a lot of... It's funny, sometimes the threads that get bumped a lot are the ones where there's a terrible problem and stuff has gone wrong. And if something comes out and it's really great, if it's maybe so great that people are like, oh my god, and they just start working with it and they don't post, then that stuff drops out of sight real fast. Welcome to the world of the future. Talk to you guys later.